name is Sébastien de Brouwer. I'm the Chief Policy Officer of the European Banking Federation. In my role of Chief Policy Officer, I'm very much in charge of all policy-related issues. So I really cover the entire spectrum of legislative, regulatory, and policy-related issue for the banking sector in Europe. I wanted to present to you the most important development and the challenges faced by banks in Europe, and mostly on the regulatory side. So the regulatory development in the banking sector at the European level, which still are key. It's a very important driver while banks' business in Europe. Since the great financial crisis in 2008, there was a wave, of course, of new regulation which has profoundly reshaped the regulatory and supervisory framework for banks in Europe. And we are still now in a process with a different angle, of course, looking at the adaptation, evolution of the regulatory framework, also in the context of the new challenges ahead, notably the twin transition, so the digital transformation, and also, of course, the transition to a more sustainable economy. And those two key transitions, of course, bring with them a number of important regulatory change that banks will have to cope with. The money regulation, the reform, and the efforts made by banks the last years have proven the resilience of the banking sector, and I think it has been demonstrated also during the COVID-19 crisis. But still, no, it's very important to support to a certain extent the robustness of banks, and so in order also to ensure the banking sector to be able to meet the future challenges. So the huge investment needed in Europe, where the banking sector will, of course, play the main role of financer. So there, in the context of the regulatory and supervisory framework, we stress and again the importance also of supporting the banking sector and not specifically weakening it, because we'll need really the banking sector to meet all those challenges, the current, but also the medium and long-term challenges. Well, we're of course very interested to meet different type of stakeholders, and that's also the advantage of such a conference, which has a broad stakeholders attendance. And it's important to highlight also that the conference will take place, of course, in the country of the EU presidency. So that should allow, of course, to meet key decision makers. So I'm very much looking forward to the Banking CEE Expo. As EBF, we believe it's very important also to connect different relevant stakeholders. First, of course, the decision makers, but also the bankers and the large bases of stakeholders.